Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knight. Hey,
it's the best.
running through the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade? Well, this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it. Got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got your rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. TJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at DJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. I tell you what, gotta love Mondays. 2 hours down, 2 hours to go with Sports Talk Radio. Looking forward to tonight. And I tell you what, the sporting world did not let us down this weekend. Gave us plenty to come back to Monday to talk about. It don't matter if you're an NCAA guy and you watch the 8 lateral kickoff return by the Miami Hurricanes that technically shouldn't have counted because the one player did have his knee touch the ground. But, you know, karma is what they call it. And Duke, you had no business being in the top 25. I preached that last week. That's what happens when you're put into the top 25, even though you're not supposed to be in the top 25. Same way with Pitt says, you got the brakes beat it off you. Thursday night, the UNC Tar Heels said that what goes around comes around. UNC, you are next on the list. You do not belong in the top 25. So short-lived that 21st ranked, 21st ranking position you have. You're an NFL fan. You got to watch the Denver Broncos defense. I don't want to say they won the game. I don't want to take anything away from Tom Brady, or I'm sorry, Peyton Manning, because he put on one hell of a performance. But essentially that defense won these games. Still, it's only allowing Aaron Rodgers to pass for 77 yards. 77 yards. And then, oh my God, if you are a NASCAR fan, you thought the Harvick thing was the talk of the year. Matt Kenseth just opened a whole can of worms. Good guy. This is why I love doing what I do. Why I love getting up at 7:30 in the morning, getting myself prepared, be on the air at 8 o'clock in the morning, do the 110 Nation morning show, which will be on 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's on every weekday, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Make sure you do not miss it. And then get to do Rubbing His Racing at 7 o'clock early tonight. Yes, Rubbing His Racing, 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock, Monday evening. Make sure you check that one out. And I got to spend 2 hours here on the 110 Nation Sports Show. Yes, I'm going to do this once again. The 110 Nation Sports Show, Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I tell you what, this is why I do this. Like, to sit here this weekend, and trust me, I don't want to be sitting here. I have never experienced so much back pain in my life. I wish I could be moving around and doing stuff. My back's been killing me for about a week and a half at this point. Not this last Friday, the Friday before. So you're looking at about a week and a half at this point. and I think was finally starting to get back in the right direction. And Saturday morning, I woke up and I couldn't reach my feet. Like I could not put my own socks and shoes on. And any man that has ever had to ask your significant other, thank God there is a significant other, to put your socks and shoes on, there's like, I guess it's a male pride thing. I don't know if there's anything more degrading than have someone put your shoes and socks on for you. Like, every man out there wants to be able to say that I can at least put my own socks and shoes on. But couldn't do that. Was all I could do to muster my way into work. I was there for 10 hours, and then no ride happened to come by. And right now we got both my vehicles down and just got Shorty's, and Shorty's stuck at work. And so what is normally an hour and 15-minute walk home took me 2 hours to walk home. And needless to say, I was in a lot of pain. Halloween night, Saturday night, I got here, got off about 3, got home around 5-ish. I showered, and I will guarantee I was knocked out about 6, 7 o'clock. I ain't been able to sleep. It's very hard to get comfortable. It's very hard to move, just to roll around. Like, it's kind of whatever position I get into is the position I'm stuck in. And if I lay on my back, it's like the worst. It's like I'm stuck. Like, I cannot move. Then you get that, like, trapped feeling. Like, if someone came in, I couldn't move. Like, I would feel like I'm trapped right there and couldn't move. It's just horrible. But Sunday wasn't bad. Yesterday wasn't as bad. Thought it'd be a lot worse, but just the walk. But today, it's been really rough. It has been very hard to get up and down. And it's horrible. Like, sit down, horrible. Get in and out of a vehicle, horrible. Especially the Cavalier, and I just, like, really big on the vehicle. So I kind of, like, even bend down even farther to get out and in and out of the car. Moving around, it takes me forever to stand straight up. It's just horrible, but thank God I had sports this weekend. Thank God I had one hell of a race in Martinsville. I'm glad I had some college football. Glad it was NBA. Got to watch the Cavaliers beat the brakes off of the Heat. Score looked a lot closer than what it really was. The reason Miami caught up as little bit as they did, close that 20-point gap, was Cavaliers had second and third string players in. All the starters were out. Even some of the backups were done for the night. So, but yeah, glad they got stuff done this weekend though. We combined the sites for those that ain't noticed, and if you've not liked us, go over to. We got just 2 fan pages now. Once upon a time we had 3. We had a site, sports side, fan page, and then we had our guest and the radio show fan page. Now it's all just one fan page. Getting a lot of interaction, a lot more views on it. Jumped our likes up now. We're getting close to 700 likes on the Facebook. Just did wonders for us, and just a lot more interaction, a lot more going on over there. So make sure you check out the 110 Nation Sports fan page, and then, of course, there's my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. Having fun over there as well. Social media has been fun lately. I tell you what, really fun. All this stuff going on in the sporting world really makes having fan pages fun right now. All the different opinions and everything. Erica Enders, we had her on a couple weeks ago, the NHRA driver last year, 2014 champ Pro Stock. We had her on the show. She told us Las Vegas was coming up. Not only did she smash records, she also secured the 2015 championship of, I think there's still 2 more races, at least one more, but I think there was 2 more races. But she's already secured her spot for the championship. So congratulations to her. Did a great job, and looking forward to having her back on the show sometime. I had a blast with her. Very popular, very, very popular show. Got a really good listener reaction out of that show, so very glad. Between that show and the show, we had Amber Balkan on the show. Those two shows really stuck out in October. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in and caught us on October as we continue to grow. Los Angeles, I was kind of surprised. Los Angeles has snuck into our top 5. And Spreaker, they give us reports, and, all these different sites give you different, look at different things, different aspects. Like on the website and the blog site, with the programs we have, I can, see people, see where people see, look at the site from, how long, and a whole bunch of different things, different stats. Unfortunately for the radio, for the most part, you don't get those kind of stats. But Spreaker has a platform on there that you can tell the cities. And, of course, Fayetteville, our home city, 2 months in a row was the top spot, and honestly was the only city that was repeated into the top 5 or even top 10. As we do a top 5 list, so everybody knows the new cities repping. So Fayetteville's the only one to go back-to-back. But, in all fairness, that's our home base, so we should expect more listeners and a higher turnout from our home city. But Los Angeles, I was rather surprised. It just came out of nowhere. I don't know what where we got this following from and what's changed out on the West Coast, but I want to welcome all of our Los Angeles listeners. And thank you, guys. Greatly appreciate to have you guys tuning in, and looking forward to having you guys continue to do that and continue being part of the 110 Nation family. So I want to shout out to that, and it was just really cool. It is really cool to see different things, doing this stuff. You get to learn a lot, and it helps you focus on a lot of things. And so it's just really cool to have that opportunity. Like I said, a great weekend on sports. Give us vaccine, that'd be great. And this Saturday coming up, Steve Gilmeyer and myself, we're going to be out at the Charlotte racetrack, dirt track. We're going to watch the World of Outlaws and their finals. Looking forward for the opportunity of that. Steve and myself have done many shows together, but this is going to be the first opportunity that we actually get to hang out together and possibly do a few live feeds from the track. We're planning and working on all that stuff. But looking forward to the opportunity of that. It'll be the first time that I've seen the sprint cars in action, so it's kind of exciting. I have never had this opportunity. I've watched a few races on TV. Not necessarily something I watch on a regular basis. I try to expand my horizons and experiences when it comes to racing. And so hopefully first-hand opportunity here will win me over, just like getting the opportunity to watch NHL. Yes, it wasn't firsthand, but definitely been watching more and more of that. That's been great. Looking forward to having Izzo back on tomorrow night tomorrow night at 10:30. We got Patrick Taylor joining us at 10 o'clock tonight to talk NFL for blindfolds. Looking forward to that as well. But and then we got the Homestead. I'm looking for the opportunity to be at the championship race in Homestead the weekend around the 20th in November. So 3 races away. Very, very excited about that. And especially after this weekend. Why couldn't you be in NASCAR? I tell you what, things got really interesting really fast at Martinsville as Joe Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, I think Matt Kenseth is up there leading the laps, but definitely those first Joe Logano and Brad Keselowski leading a lot of laps, leading most of the laps. Outside group wasn't really working that great, so they had a whole system that whoever was the second first would let them jump in front of them, then they would find the perfect opportunity to swap each other positions and give the first place guy his spot back. So they were working really good with that. Finally got to a restart. Things just didn't seem quite right on the whole restart, and I'm not sure if Keselowski intentionally hit Matt Kenseth. Looks like it was pretty rough. It didn't look like it was just pure accident, but I would find it hard to believe that Keselowski would take the chance going down the front stretch of taking himself out of the race. And essentially, that's kind of what he did. Is he had a really bad finish and went down many laps and is sitting like 6th in the points at this point because of it. But it definitely took Kenseth out of contention as he was top 5 at that point in time. And also took out Kurt Busch out of contention, which put him 7th in the points at this point in time. As he really had nowhere to go and was just kind of a product of circumstances, being at the wrong place at the wrong time, even though you're up front and you're thinking more of the leaders. So now you kind of set yourself up. And early in the race, you had Danica and David Gillen get into it a little bit. And then Danica tried to retaliate. And we discussed this on Rubbing His Racing. Danica must be the worst retaliator in the world. Like, as many wrecks as she's been in. And I know that most of them are not her fault, or she's been a product of just being involved with other people's stuff, period. I'm a big Danica supporter. As a matter of fact, it's who I pull for her than Kyle Busch. But I'm also not a fan with blinders on and know that she has caused her fair share of wrecks as well. And it's funny to me, for someone that's involved with so many wrecks, how does someone become so horribly bad at retaliating? Like, every time that we've watched her intentionally retaliate, she has taken herself out of the race. And sometimes it's not even... David Gillian had a top 24 finish. It happens that most of the time she doesn't even take out the person she's trying to retaliate against. She takes out herself, and that was something that happened once again this weekend. But then we watched, and you've seen it coming. Oh my God, you've seen it coming. You've seen Joey Logano dominating this race, working through lap traffic. And you watch him come up on Matt Kenseth. And, of course, Matt Kenseth gave him a little bump in the rear earlier in the race. And I thought it was really cute that those guys in the booth honestly thought that was kind of going to be it. Are you serious? Like, Joe Logano took him out of the race and essentially caused him to not be able to advance in the next into this round. So that's not going to be the end of it. There's no way, no how. And sure enough, as you're watching Joey Logano come up and try to go the outside of him, and Matt Kenseth's words, his tire went down. But he didn't make the left-hand turn with Joey Logano on the outside that he needed to make to keep them going around the track, and took them straight into the wall. A nice hard hit. Took Logano out. Took Kenseth out. Kenseth's car would have been able to be operational. Kenseth was going to be parked anyway, and the crowd goes crazy. Like, it's just wild. And I tell you what, NASCAR's got themselves a whole mess to fix out and fix, because a lot of people are calling for Kenseth to be suspended, and I think it's funny because you watch Harvick the week before obviously take out Trevor Bay, regardless how obvious it was, or if it was, whatever. I want to believe that it was a pure accident, but yeah, we know exactly what Kevin Harvick did, and there was no punishment. And we watched Logano remove Kenseth out of the way earlier in the chase with no punishment. So it's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR does, but I don't envy being in their predicament, because if you don't punish Kenseth, you got a lot of people out there saying this is ruining the sport, and it looks like NASCAR's losing control and all this other stuff. But then if you do suspend him, then where does that leave Danica? Because Danica did the exact same thing. Obviously, she didn't take out the race leader or someone who's in contention to win the chase, but essentially she did the exact same thing. So now you weigh the penalty different from one racer to the other racer, even though they did the exact same thing. There's a lot of things that go into factor here, and I don't envy being in NASCAR's position at this point, because that's got to be a tough spot to be in. My personal opinion, I wish it would just be dropped. It's racing. It was done at a small track, so the severity of danger was dropped dramatically. It wasn't like he chose a track like Talladega to do this at. He didn't do it up and down pit road, so there was nobody in harm's way. We watched Harvick do what he did and get away with it. We watched Logano do what he did and get away with it. We've seen multiple incidences throughout the season that nobody caught a penalty for. I don't want to see a penalty. I'm not a big Matt Kenseth fan, so don't feel that I'm saying this because I pull for Matt Kenseth. No, I've never been a Matt Kenseth fan. I never will be a Matt Kenseth fan. I don't know. I know where people lost respect for him because of what he did and feel it's a cowardly move and all this other stuff. I have more respect for him. It made me realize that he does have a pair of balls. There's not too many drivers out there that have a pair. Could you imagine Dale Jr. ever growing a pair and doing something like that, retaliating, kind of getting last word or anything? No. And it's not what's going to happen. Dale Jr. is going to take it like a big boy, and he's probably going to give whoever the Vaseline to make sure it's a nice, smooth ride. All I know is my first message as soon as I saw it was holy, and I sent that to Steve Dillmeyer, my co-host for Rubbing His Racing, and to our co-host on Racing with Big Sweat on Thursday night. And all I could sit there and do is just like, whoa, wow, like, and to watch that crowd. I mean, how does NASCAR, if you discipline it, then that means the drivers are going to tone it down. If the drivers tone it down, you do not get the fan reaction that you got. I don't care if you're for it or not. You definitely got a reaction out of it. And got the Carolina-Indianapolis game on. Of course, Carolina's up 10-0. Really, no big surprise. No big surprise Carolina wins this game tonight. But I kind of feel bad for them. They're out there playing in that rain. And being here in North Carolina, like, for those that are watching the game, as much as it's pouring down rain on TV right now, I'm surprised one of the field is not in horrible shape, because the way it is raining, it's downpouring, that is the way it's been since like early yesterday afternoon. It has been nonstop pouring down rain for the last 30 hours or so, maybe even longer. Like, it has been raining all day like that. Like, the roads are we have nothing but like ponds we got to drive through right now. I know when I went to McDonald's this morning, the water level from the side of the road, the ditches, they were full and almost on the road. Like, it has been nonstop. So I can imagine what it's like being out there in that football field right now. That's got to be horrible and sloppy. And I don't expect a really great air-free game. I expect a lot of sloppiness, because that field has got to be horrible. I can imagine there's going to end up being some big craters and whatnot in that field, because it has been nonstop. But Dale Jr. went on to say, I ain't going to argue with what Matt did. Matt felt like he was justified with how Joey wrecked him at Kansas and then was arrogant about it afterward. That was really what got under Matt's skin more than anything, how Joey was arrogant about it. When you damn wreck a guy, admit it, you know. Kevin Harvick said he wasn't surprised by Kenseth's reaction. He recalled a previous incident where he got into Kenseth at Martinsville, and it wasn't 50 laps later that I was in the fence. Tell you what, that's kind of an eye for an eye situation with Matt Harvick. That there's really no in between with Matt. Racing around him for a long time, you kind of know where you sit with him. Sanctions are going to be held down tomorrow. Whatever NASCAR feels is best in their best interest for the sport. I would be shocked. You can't promote boys be boys and and allow one driver to take out the whole field in order to keep a spot in the chase and then turn around the next week and say, you know what, we're going to penalize you for taking out the leader. I'm sorry, but you can't have your cake and your ice cream and your brownies and your cookies and everything else too. You kind of gotta. It's either got to be one way or the other. And like I said, and then if you decide you're going to suspend Matt Kenseth, where does that leave Danica Patrick? And, you know, unfortunately for her, if the suspension gets held down to him, then the suspension's got to be held down or, you know, handed down to her. And hers, you know, unfortunately took her out, didn't even take him out of the race. And it was two drivers that was really irrelevant in the whole scenario, and it was really just, you know, basically two people in a pissing contest. So, you know, kind of the whole weekend to retaliate is the way it's going to look like it could possibly play out. So, tell you what, NASCAR, wow, I just wouldn't want to be in those shoes. The decisions that got to be made, and it's going to be made tomorrow, handed out 2 o'clock. J.C. Barrett to the Ohio State Buckeyes. What, you know, the one thing that I expected this weekend, a bye weekend, was even though we weren't going to cheer and get a win, we weren't going to be in the news. This was going to New England Hawks. We've already switched quarterbacks. That whole controversy is over with. That whole conversation is done and over with. And, you know, honestly, I figured this was going to be one weekend that we didn't have anything to talk about when it came to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Other than, okay, on Tuesday when the playoff picture starts to be laid out and they pick the 4 teams that are currently your top 4 and looking to be in the playoff, is Ohio State going to be 1, 2, or 3, or 4? And that's really the only conversation I expected to have all weekend long. Well, J.C. Barrett, you ruined my hopes and my plans here. I honestly just thought that was going to be it. It seems that Saturday morning? Maybe it was Sunday morning. J.C. Barrett hit a roadblock and was driving under the influence. And what makes things worse is he's not even 21. So he blew a .099. The legal limit for a 21-year-old is .08, and a non-21-year-old is .02. So obviously not a good situation for J.C. Barrett or the Ohio State Buckeyes. Urban Meyer went ahead and suspended him for a game, and also he has forfeited his scholarship for a semester. And guess who's the backup quarterback again? Braxton Miller. He's the backup quarterback for Cordell Jones. You know, it's funny because people are criticizing what the suspension or what the penalty or the punishment, I guess, for what the punishment was. He got hit by a roadblock drinking and over the limit. He got a game suspension. I'm sorry, but something just rolled on my leg. Scared the holy crap out of me. But he got a game suspension, and he's getting his scholarship pulled. I'm not quite sure what more the critics out there was expecting to happen. But I mean, compared to track records, I mean, what Urban Meyer did, and essentially the punishment that was handed down, more than fits the crime. You know, I'm not promoting the whole drinking and driving thing. Yet, you know, if you know that is something that the punishment's usually steeper, then I'm all for it. But yanking your scholarship, making him pay for school, not be able to play football, I mean, and demoting him, that's something he's now going to have to work back. I think that they did a pretty good job of punishing the J.C. Barrett and making sure that one, the NCAA has no reason to want to bring more sanctions down on Ohio State, but also making sure that they know that if you break the rules, we're not some of these colleges like Florida State. We got done criticizing Florida State and the mishandling of Jameson Winston and the shoplifting and everything else. Things keep getting worse for J.C. Barrett. The Ohio State Buckeyes quarterback was arrested early Saturday morning on misdemeanor charges of operating a vehicle while intoxicated. The school announced on Saturday that Barrett would be suspended for the Buckeyes game against Minnesota on November 7th. During Monday's press conference, Urban Meyer said that Barrett would have to complete counseling through the school and would also forfeit his financial aid for the summer term, according to Layton's Ryan Cooper. Meyer also said Barrett will have the opportunity to earn his scholarship back. Despite the suspension and loss of scholarship, Meyer noted that as of now, Barrett will remain a captain on the team. Ohio State will go back to starting Cordell Jones this week, just 2 weeks after replacing Jones with Barrett. Meyer announced that Braxton Miller is now number 2 quarterback on the depth chart this week with Barrett out. Miller made the move from quarterback to wide receiver / halfback during the offseason. Very, very interesting situation that is unraveled at Ohio State. It's funny because you went from the critics questioning and doubting whether or not Ohio State is deserving of the number 1 spot or even being in the conversation of the top 4 players. And then they replaced Cordell Jones with J.C. Barrett, and all that went away. No longer are they questioning whether or not Ohio State should be number 1. No longer are they questioning whether Ohio State should be one of the 4 teams. All of a sudden now they are favorites once again to win and be. They're favorites to be number 1. They're favorites to win it all. All of a sudden everything changed. So I'm curious to know how this possibly affects tomorrow's polls when they come out and start talking about the top 4 and who's in right now. I also wonder if that's going to start changing opinions once again on whether or not Ohio State should be number 1 and the conversation about them being in the top 4. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on that because it's just kind of been the theme all season long. As long as Cordell Jones has been in, there's been doubt, but Barrett in, it kind of hushed the naysayers. So definitely going to keep our eyes on that. Alex Smith had more rushing yards than Aaron Rodgers had passing yards. That's crazy. There's a big blockbuster trade this afternoon. We're going to talk about that at the 10 o'clock hour as well. If you thought Denver was already a very nice hit in the end zone, and Indianapolis almost had them a touchdown to tie the game up. It was 3rd and 4th. Now it is 4th and 4th. Receiver got plowed in the end zone and caught that what should have been a catch. Didn't quite work out the way they thrown that up, but he almost had it. Almost good play. Still 10-3. Carolina's up on top of the Indianapolis Colts as they're getting ready to kick a field goal. Adam Vinatieri made a 47-yarder earlier. We're going to see if he is about to make a and Vinatieri hit the other one. It's now a 10-6 game halfway through the second quarter. Kobe Bryant not too happy with his performance these days. I'm the 200th best player in the league right now. I freaking suck. Words from Kobe Bryant. The hope and excitement the Los Angeles Lakers fans felt when Kobe Bryant was cleared to return to the court was quickly dissipated. LA sits at 0-3 after Sunday night's 103-93 home loss to the Dallas Mavericks, a game the Lakers never led. In fact, the Lakers have led only 10 seconds of their past 103-plus minutes of play, trailing for the final 7:09 of their season opener. Whatever touched my leg, I think just found its way back over here again. trying to take in the nature. I'm not trying to run the AC unit, keep the electric bill down. Everything, and the mom can come in from outside, and looks like I came across a little friend and not belonging in the house. So we today earlier, not get sidetracked. We're going to talk about Kobe sucking here in a second. We can always talk about Kobe sucking. Never a hair at my back. I'm not a Lakers fan by any stretch of the imagination, so I have no problem. About 4 or 5 times earlier today that we had a Daddy Long Leg come in the house, made his way in somehow or another, but made his way in, and he was on the bathroom wall, and I swear I went in the bathroom like 4 times. I just let it be. I was like, whatever, he'll make his way back outside. I ain't sweating. Now I grew up where my father lived out in the middle of nowhere, so we was used to whatever animals made their way into the house. And it was crazy because I couldn't have ventured to tell you all the animals that we've had in our house. Field mice that made their way in, and I believe there was a possum or a squirrel one time, and just different things that made their way into the house. And so didn't really think much of it, and about 4 or 5 times I've gone in there, and it was still the same spot. So honestly, I thought maybe it came in and died right on the bathroom wall. It was like it was at the exact same spot every time. And the last time I went in there, it was moved into a different spot of the wall. So I went ahead and got rid of it, and it won't be hanging on the wall no more. But kind of things that you expect. We live out here, kind of in the woods. I say kind of in the woods. We're still in the city limits, but we're like on the back side of Fort Bragg and back road that doesn't really belong to anybody. It's not part of the city. We're actually part of the county, so we're not really in any jurisdiction, so there's nobody out here, and there's nothing but trees out here and a bunch of different trailers and stuff, so you're kind of secluded. Even though we're literally like 2 minutes from being in the heart of the city, we're like an afterthought. Unless you come back here off of a side road, you don't even know this whole world back here existed, and it's kind of different and kind of crazy. But, yeah, you can imagine what the things I've seen, either slithering or crawling through the yard and up near the porch and everything else, especially with the woods being right here. So, first time it crawled on my leg, it kind of startled me. The second time, I just happened to see it move, so this time when it comes from where it was coming from, again with my slipper. I got my slipper. So I don't think kids freaking out on these little critters coming in the house. But after an 0-3 start Sunday night, home loss 103-93 to the Dallas Mavericks, a game the Lakers never led in. They have actually led for 10 seconds of their last 103-plus minutes played, trailing for the final 7:09 of their season opening loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and holding on to a brief 4-2 advantage and an 18-point loss to the Sacramento Kings. Starts been dispiriting a defense many hoped would improve after this summer's trade for Indiana Pacers rim protector Roy Hibbert. I like that you say, rim protector. Continues to be as porous as ever, ranking 28th among 30 teams in the NBA in points allowed per possession through the season's first 6 days, and allowing a staggering 76 points in the paint to Sacramento on Friday. And while the Lakers' offense has been roughly middle of the pack thanks to a newfound dedication to the long ball, it's still featured more than its fair share of isolation bred, stagnation, and ill-fated misfiring, with an awful lot of coming from the dude wearing number 24 who looks kind of like Kobe Bryant. Kobe's shooting is just 31.4% from the floor and 20.7% three-point land, while trying nearly 10 triples per contest, which is staggering. He's attempted 51 shots while throwing just 56 passes, according to NBA.com Sports SPU player tracking data, and as nearly 2/3 of those shots have been tightly contested. The Lakers have been outscored by 26 points in his 82 minutes of playing time, and by only 3 of and by only 3 in his 62 minutes of rest. He's been bad, full stop, and the man himself acknowledged this much Sunday's defeat. Here's I'm the 200th player, and Kobe goes on to say I'm the 200th player in the league right now. I just can't make a shot, said Bryant, who is ranked number 93 in ESPN NBA Ranked Project, which counts down the NBA's top players from the upcoming season. Lakers coach Brian Scott has no answers for Kobe's struggles. I don't know, Scott said. I don't know. I know he's not happy with it. He's disappointed in the way he's shooting ball. He's playing hard. He's competing just like he always does. I think it's a matter of time. I tell you what, it's got to be rough when you've been viewed by so many for so long as being one of the best players in the NBA to openly admit to the public that you suck right now. I can only imagine how much ego that you got to suck up and how tough it is for you to sit there and acknowledge to everybody out there that you're one of the worst players in the NBA. Like, that's gotta be rough. All these years and the amount of respect that you've caused so many people to have for you. I once watched this game. The guy scored, 84 points in a game. And now here we are sitting watching probably the worst beginning of a season we have ever seen out of Kobe Bryant. That's dang. I know they have some pieces, but they really do themselves justice. I don't think they really did. Indianapolis just got themselves another turnover. Seems like every time I turn around, the Indianapolis Colts gain. That's 2 turnovers. I know that the Panthers coughed it up a little bit earlier. Now Cam Newton throws an interception. Have some games going on tonight. Cleveland, once again, victorious 107-100. As ever since they had that Week 1 loss, they've managed to turn things around. Milwaukee and Brooklyn are tied up at 92 with a little bit over 3 minutes left in the fourth. San Antonio is up 12 on top of the New York Knicks in New York, 94-82. That game is just gone final. OKC is up over Houston, 78-73, as they got a little over 3 minutes left in the third. Portland and Minnesota tied up at 53 at the half in Minnesota. Later on tonight, you got Memphis traveling to Golden State here in about 45 minutes, and then also Phoenix traveling to LA to play the Clippers here in about 45 minutes as well. I guess I know what I'm going to be doing tonight, catching me some basketball. Toronto started off the season 3-0. Obviously, a tough one with Minnesota tonight, who's also started off the season on the right foot, starting off 2-0, trying to go to 3-0 themselves. Like I said, Cleveland, after that first week loss, really turned things around, sitting 3-1, tied up with Chicago. That was their only opponent that they've lost to at this point. Oklahoma 3-0. I really got my concerns about Oklahoma. Clippers 3-0. Golden State 3-0 as well. I have my concerns with Oklahoma. I watched them score, that duo score like 91 points the other night in the double overtime win to Orlando. And they scored 90-something points out of the 100, and I want to say 27 or so points that was scored for them. And great for them that they were able to be victorious, and I applaud them. But my concern is, as we've watched Cleveland be a prime example, that you got to have more than 1 or 2 people doing all the work. It just doesn't work. I believe I got it. There's too much toll in a season for these two to be able to carry this whole team. And they rely way too much on those two. And we see every year what happens when one of them gets hurt. They don't make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, they're gone in the first round. They've got to find a way to be more like San Antonio or be like Cleveland now, and some of these other teams that are making sure that they have a team full of quality players, not just one or two good players, but a whole team. And that way they can minimize some of the hours instead of putting the strain on Kevin Durant and Westbrook to play and take all the shots and wear down their body. This is why Oklahoma keeps falling short. That they have no other players outside of them too. They got a couple, Serge Ibaka, a couple players that, yes, every once in a blue moon they might show up and have a good game, but nothing that's going to carry them through the playoffs. Nothing that's going to carry them throughout the season. Nothing that these two can count on or depend on a night-to-night basis. I mean, even if you could have three other players on that roster that you know, okay, tonight's your night. This is the night you step up. We'll give you guys a schedule. The other two you could take tonight off and just be role players. But every third night, the three of y'all have to rotate, and you have to step up and play to our level. That way, we do not have to play as hard. They got to figure out something. I mean, I know it's not that simple, and it's not how it works. But they got to figure out something, because the only thing that's going to happen is while they're in Oklahoma, Westbrook and Durant are going to continue to wear down their body. They're going to continue to devalue themselves. They're never going to win a championship. And eventually this is all going to be all for nothing, and they're going to have to go their different ways in order, one, to be able to be afforded, because now you're getting to, because it's two people padding their stats, now their value goes up because, yes, they put up great numbers, but they're not going to win a championship because of their contracts being the amounts they are. They can't afford to go out and get players that, you know, this is the problem with young players that don't think about this stuff. The reason why they couldn't hold on to James Harden, there was not enough money to go around because everybody started getting greedy. That's why you got to have players willing to play for less and be more worried and more concerned about a championship and getting that ring. And those players, you know, that's not what they were thinking about. They were thinking about fatting their paycheck, and that's why you got two superstars, and then that's it. And you just fill the rest of the team. And now you're counting on these two guys to score 80% of your points or so. And like I said, as the season goes on, you start to see how this wears and tears and affects this team. And, you know, I would be surprised if Durant's there next year. But wherever Durant goes, the reality is he's not going to be able to get a max contract. Not if he wants to win a championship. Not if he's going to a team that has the opportunity to win a championship. It's not going to be suitable. It's not going to be affordable. I mean, not even Cleveland could fit it all in. You see the luxury tax that Dan Gilbert's got to pay on. This is the second highest salary or roster in NBA history. So, I mean, but you see what they're paying for. They're paying for LeBron James and a Kevin Love and a Kyrie Irving and J.R. Smith and Eamon Shumpert and Mozgov and Richard Jefferson and all the pieces that they, you know, bringing back Mo Williams and, you know, Anderson Varejao, who's been there for 10-plus years. And, you know, obviously Tristan Thompson and his new contract and being one of the best rebounders in the NBA. I mean, you really don't have a choice but to pay that kind of money. But their contracts are not even anywhere close to what you're looking at in Westbrook and Durant. And so sometimes I wish that these players would really rethink things and realize what their greediness is causing and costing them. LeBron James almost had a triple-double tonight with 22 points, 11 assists, but 9 rebounds. Played 33 minutes, led the team. Del Silva actually led the team in minutes out there. Was out there playing a lot of time today, as got a lot of good performances, a well-rounded performance once again today. LeBron James, 22 points. Kevin Love got him 8 more rebounds, 15 points. Not quite the best shooting, 50%, 0 from 4 from the three-point land. But there you go. Mo Williams, 8 of 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from downtown, 21 points. Not missing a lot of shots. Jared Smith really didn't perform well. He's only played 5 minutes. Dellavedova, 34 minutes, but he was 5 of 8, 12 points. James Jones, 4 or 6. He was 4 for 5 downtown, 12 points. So, I mean, a lot of points and minutes got distributed. Tristan Thompson, another rebound for him. 9 rebounds, all defensive, 8 points. Just playing a well-rounded performance for this team. Everybody getting involved. Everybody got some time. Harrison Faraja, just 4 minutes. Joe Harris got about 4.5 minutes. Everybody else was in double-digit time. Shasha Khan didn't make the trip, not with the team, personal reasons, and, of course, Irving and Shumpert still being out. But, you know, you see this stud-filled team with the contracts that they had to refill. I mean, LeBron James had to be re-signed. Kevin Love had to be re-signed. Timothy Mozgov had to be re-signed. Mo Williams got signed. Jared Smith had to be re-signed. Dellavedova had to be re-signed. Tristan Thompson had to be re-signed. Jefferson had to be signed. And then Evan Shumpert had to be re-signed as well. So, I mean, a lot of names on the books in the off season. And but at least these players are wise and look for the better cause and realize they got to have a team. And now you got a pretty stacked team and pretty deep on that bench. I mean, I think Jared Cunningham, who's been playing and performing really well, and Joe Harris might be your 2 X factors that, you know, are not made a name for themselves in whatever league that they had in playing. Sasha Khan played for Russia and was part of the silver medal team that David Blatt had led that team too. So, I mean, all these rest of these players have been established and, you know, have some kind of weight behind themselves outside of those 2. And, you know, the Oklahoma City Thunder's got to figure out something. They can't continue playing and playing under the current model and current situations that they're playing in. Obviously, it's not working. And, you know, Cleveland has come just as close. As a matter of fact, closer. The only other time that Oklahoma was this close is when they went to the finals, and really, honestly, they were cheated out of the finals to Miami Heat with LeBron James. But that's, you know, they still had James Harden and all that. You know, things really have gone downhill since they cut him loose, and, you know, hell, they lost, you know, a third piece, a third link, a third superstar. Who would have ever thought that he would have went to the Houston Rockets and become the league's biggest flopper ever? You kind of lost your manhood there, James Harden. But you know, you helped Oklahoma, and I think they really realized that after you left. And now, you know, you got 2 teams that can't make it to the finals, and probably once again are not going to make it to the finals. I would be surprised if it doesn't come down to Golden State and San Antonio. So. Carolina is trying desperately to get back on the board one more time before the half, and they've got it down to about the 5-yard line with a 10-6 lead with 1 minute left, but a flag on the play, so I think this might be coming back the way Cam Newton is reacting. So, pass interference. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at DJSports1. Follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook. You can check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nation Sports fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Make sure you guys check that out. I combined both of our prior fan pages, the radio and the sports side. Made one massive fan page. Been getting a lot of attention. Got to thank everybody that's been going over there. A lot more interaction, a lot more people seeing the post. All in all, it's just been a really great move for us. So make sure you guys check that out, get part of the fun, help us hit 700 likes, as we're sitting about 675 right now. I'd love to, we would love to hit that 1,000 mark here soon. We'd love to really hit it by the end of the year. I know that's a big task, and that's asking a lot, and actually we're up to 676. So that means someone else just jumped on board and liked us as well. Got to thank that person. Looks like Jonathan Carl Jackson might have put us at 676. But definitely thank everybody for going over there and being interactive with us and help us enjoy talking sports as well. Don't forget, the 110 Nation Sports Show is on Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The 110 Nation Morning Show on from 8 to 9 and Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. We got Rubbing is Racing at 7 o'clock on Mondays, and we've got Racing with Big Sweats at 9 o'clock on Thursday nights. And then, of course, there's the CJ and Shorty Show, 12 o'clock on Fridays. So make sure you guys check those out as well. And I know I'm just kind of brain dead there for a minute. Took a little bit of medication trying to ease if you understood how bad the pain was in the middle of my back. I tried to take a little bit of medication, so I'm trying to make it so it's bearable for me to sit in this chair. That's kind of where my main focus is half the time I'm sitting here talking, is how bad my back is feeling. And so I took something to help lighten that pain up, and hopefully it will do some more work here soon, or get to make my back feel a little bit better. It's a little bit better now, but I'd like it to feel a little bit more better before the show's over with, especially when I go to get up. It's amazing sometimes. It takes me a good 5 to 10 minutes to be able to stand up straight, and sometimes I even got to go down to a knee and adjust myself before I come back up. And I have never had to use so many chair arms and coffee tables to help assist myself. And I never thought I would be sitting there sliding off the edge of the couch down to my knees and trying to adjust myself before I got up. Yeah, like I said, it has been crazy this last week and a half. And like I said, I took a little something before we got on the air, so I know that I really had to concentrate on pronunciation because I could tell I was kind of mumbling through it there a little bit, but also kind of make me a little foggy as I sit here and talk and try to deal with moving myself in a position to not feel as uncomfortable as possible. And I tell you what, it's crazy that I've ever been. I got a cough. When I cough, it's really bad. So we got Patrick Taylor joining us here at 10 o'clock. I saw he just tweeted, so I'm expecting him to call any second. We can spend the next hour talking the NFL. A lot of great things and a lot of, we got some moves going on. We're going to talk about that as the trade deadline is quickly approaching us, and I'm sure we'll have a few more trades to talk about tomorrow. But without any further delay, we got Patrick Taylor in the studio, so we'll go ahead and plug him in. Patrick, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Great weekend to watch sports. Between all the action we saw in the NFL, the 8 laterals on the Miami Hurricanes, and I know you're not a big NASCAR fan, but anytime you turned on anything today, once again, NASCAR had controversy. And I tell you what, this is why I love doing this, and this is why I love being on Mondays. The weekends always bring so much for us to talk about on Mondays.
Definitely, man. Yeah, it was a wild weekend in sports, NFL, college football. Sounds like NASCAR. It was a little crazy for you. I want to apologize first. I have a little cold, so if I sound a little different tonight, bear with me here.
No problems. If I act like I'm dying over here, just ignore it. I pulled something on my back about a week and a half ago, and it has been unbearable. Like I was telling earlier, Saturday morning it was so bad I couldn't even put my own socks and shoes on. She had to put them on for me, and then I worked 10 hours, and ride never showed up, so I ended up taking what was an hour and 15 walk, normally a 2-hour walk that hurt so bad. So it's crazy. I've never had so many problems getting out of a seat or getting out of bed, and so I completely understand.
Back troubles are no fun, so I hope you can get it figured out, man, and get to feeling right.
Oh, me too. The last time I did it, I knew what I did. I did something in the gym, and I remember when I did it, I just didn't think nothing of it. I just thought something just felt funny, and I continued doing my back routine, and then the next 2 weeks, I couldn't walk at all. Like, it was impossible for me to walk. So it had been about 5 years. This time, it wasn't nothing to do with the gym, so I have no idea. I just wish it would go away, because this is just, it's a pain, and I'm losing sleep because I'm never comfortable, and like I was telling him earlier, if I lay on my back, I feel like I'm being restricted because it's all I can do to.
You there?
There we go. Can we hear me now?
You good? Yep. I can hear you.
My dang on phone cord accidentally pumped the mute button, and I heard some beep, but I was trying to figure out what it was. Then I looked over and realized that the headset cord had bumped the mute button on my phone.
Oh, no.
But
no problem.
It's nothing worse than laying there on my back and I cannot move. Like, I have to rock myself to get off my back. So I feel like really, I'm not gonna say claustrophobic because I'm not enclosed, but I know it's got to be the same feeling because I feel like I can't move. And like if someone was to walk in, I would be screwed because I cannot move out of this position. Is how I feel. So it's got to get better because it's just crazy. And I kind of got to crawl off the edge of the bed to even get into a standing position. So, yes, this is not working. But I want to let you plug yourself real quick, as we do every week before we jump into this. And like I said on Facebook the other day, or Twitter, it was Twitter actually. When you hit us up on Facebook, it was good to actually put a face with a voice. It was the first time that I've actually been able to see you. It was crazy. I had the same experience with Miss Lee. What's funnier about Miss Lee, she does our PR work, is she doesn't use her pictures in her profile pictures. So I didn't even actually know who she was or what she looked like until we met up one time at a race in Kentucky. And it was funny because we're on the phone, and I have no idea who I'm looking for, and I'm making this person wave. And, of course, you got drivers coming out and everything, and people are waving anyway. So you're trying to pinpoint who's actually waving to you and who they're, versus the people waving at the race car drivers and everything else.
Right.
It was good to finally put a face to the voice that's been joining me every week. But go ahead and plug yourself real quick, and we'll get into these topics.
Yeah, wineblower.com. Find your sports predictions there. We also have a sports blog that kind of takes a different look at sports and offers a pop culture perspective and an emphasis on gambling and odds and things like that. So that's wineblower.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram. line_blower is the handle, and of course like us on Facebook as well at wineblower.
A lot of interesting topics this weekend. First topic you've got on the list is big injuries in Week 8, and definitely seen a lot of those this week. A lot of injuries. And before you jump into this, what do you think is contributing to it? It just seems like more and more the injuries are more common, especially ACL, MCL injuries. What has changed in the NFL so much that it seems to be, or is it not really just more of them, we just key in on it, or is it really more, and if so, what's contributing to all these injuries that it doesn't seem like we've had before?
Well, one, it's the middle of the year, so you're going to, guys have been on their feet and working for months now. But I think the biggest contributing factor is the fact that if you look at most of these injuries, they're torn ACLs, torn MCLs, torn Achilles. Those are all explosive tears. The game's just getting bigger. The players are getting bigger. They're getting faster. They're getting stronger. But then doesn't mean they're necessarily less susceptible to injury. I mean, if you're watching the Monday night game tonight, have you ever seen a quarterback that runs like Cam Newton? I mean, the guy's 6'5", 250 pounds, and he's over there trucking linebackers. I mean, it's crazy how big and how fast and how physical the game's gotten. If you looked at a guy that was 6'5", 250 playing football 4 years ago, the dude was a left tackle. Now 6'5", 250, and to add to the fact that Cam Newton can run 4.40s and can throw a football 100 yards is just insane. So you're going to have more injuries, obviously, with a higher level of contact, a higher level of power. But you're also going to suffer more injuries that are related to explosiveness. So your ACL tears, your Achilles tears, things like that are going to happen. It's just an unfortunate aspect of the game as it's gotten a lot rougher, that the contact's gotten stronger, and as much as NFL wants to limit injuries and keep their brand strong, the game's safe. It's not a safe game to play, so injuries are going to happen.
Now we've seen a lot of injuries this weekend. I think one of the more notable ones was obviously Steve Smith Sr. Had his, I believe he had a torn ACL as well. It was just supposed to be his final season, and I've seen reports, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen reports that he's planning to make a return in 2016. I think he wants to go out with a final season, not a injury-shortened season. One, am I correct on that? And two, what are some of the other injuries he wants? I know Reggie Bush was another one as well.
Yeah, Steve Smith, even before the injury, there had been some rumors that he might actually come back for another year anyway. With the Ravens struggling the way they are, I don't think he wanted to go out on a losing season anyway. I think he was planning on the Ravens being contenders and him going out on the right note. Add the injury to that list, and I think he'll definitely be back. Harbaugh in the post game, it sure sounded like he was going to be back. Steve Smith's a heck of a competitor. I mean, I'd love to root for the guy. He's always in people's face. And he does it the right way. He's not a dirty player, I wouldn't say, but I think he'll be back. Yeah, torn Achilles out for the year. Some other injuries. Le'Veon Bell was lost. What won't be for the year, it sounds like, but it's definitely a bad injury. He has a grade 2 MCL sprain, so that's going to be at least probably a month before he can come back. And who knows, even with that, what speed is he going to be at, and how are the Steelers going to be as far as is it going to be worth him coming back? Ricardo Lockett had a scary injury. He was carted off the field with a severe concussion. Seattle's receiver. It was one of those things where he was motionless on the field for about 10 minutes. I mean, had to get the stretcher, take his face mask off. So Lockett with the Seahawks. So Steve Smith, Matt Forte also had an MCL sprain. So the Bears will be without their running back as they're sitting at 2-5. K's in a contract year, so he'll want to come back to at least prove that he's okay with that knee. Reggie Bush, like you said, torn ACL. His was pretty crazy. He had ran out of bounds and slipped on some concrete that was in the corner of the stadium in St. Louis. So he'll be out for the year. Fitzpatrick for the Jets left the game. Geno Smith also had some injury troubles, so look for the Jets to be bringing in a quarterback, to at least back one of those guys up. Smith ended up finishing the game.
And not to cut you off, but what's funny to me about the whole Geno Smith injury is a player or two before he really got hurt that first time, they had just commented on the fact that he should have ran out of bounds versus running down the sideline until the player from the Oakland team leveled him and knocked him out of bounds. It just wasn't a bright play. What's going to happen if you get, if Geno Smith gets hurt and everything else? And then it was like 2 or 3 plays later, that's when he got leveled on the backfield. But I just thought it was funny that he just got done talking about it. He needed to play smarter football. Of course, the play he got hurt wasn't his fault. The offense just didn't block. But I just thought it was funny. It was just like right there from when they said, he needs to be more conservative, and then him actually getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Smith definitely isn't noted for being the smartest guy on the field, so it's kind of ironic that they foreshadowed the injury, before it happened. On top of that, so the Jets are going to be probably working on a quarterback. I haven't seen anything, but I thought Tebow might fit pretty well in that offense. So maybe your boy can get a look at coming in for the Jets and getting on the field again. Keenan Allen, the leading receiver as far as reception goes from the Chargers, he's staying in a hospital overnight to deal with a kidney issue that he took a big hit on in San Diego's loss to the Ravens. At one point, the Chargers were out like 5 or 6 guys. They were down to like 39 guys on the roster, so they had a ton of different injuries. But Keenan Allen's definitely the highlight of that group. He's going to stay overnight in the hospital, and hopefully everything's all right. Last one, Kyrie Robinson, who's played a nice rotational role for the Saints, had a real nasty fractured fibula in his leg. He will be done for the year, which is a big loss for the Saints, who will now have to fall on C.J. Spiller and Mark Ingram to man their running game.
They won a lot of injuries, and only halfway through the season. It's to me, it's going to be crazy to see what some of these teams look like versus Week 1 roster and versus Week 17 roster. The way this injury plague has hit the NFL, I wonder how many teams are going to look totally different from when they started to where they finished at due to injuries.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's already teams dealing with a ton of injuries. I mean, my Cowboys obviously haven't won a game in 6 weeks because without Romo, Bryant came back. But injuries happen, and it's a testament to your general management staff, what kind of guys you have on that back end of the roster, and also what kind of guys you can pick up off the street to fill those holes, that are left by some of your players to keep you in contention and keep you rolling as the season goes on.
Still got Monday Night Football going on. Carolina, they're just getting underway in the third quarter, 10-6. Like I told them earlier, for those watching the game, the way it's pouring down, I feel sorry for them out there on the field right now. That is the way it's pouring down right now is the way it's been pouring down since about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I can only imagine how horrible that field has really got to be and how difficult it is to be out there because everything is soaked in North Carolina right now. Broncos and Packers. Yeah. Broncos and Packers last night. Not quite the game I think anybody was really expecting. We knew that Peyton Manning had it in him. Just whether or not we'd seen it all already or not, I guess was really the question. I don't think anybody honestly thought that Peyton Manning was done. Just thought that maybe he was losing it. And definitely not the performance we thought we would see out of Aaron Rodgers ever, not just against the Broncos, but ever. Regardless how good the defense has been, I don't think we ever expected 77 total passing yards by Aaron Rodgers. And I know this is unfortunate to say it this way, and you don't want to take away from Peyton Manning's performance, the 340 yards that he threw for. But once again, the defense wins the game. And I know that, the offense will like to take more credit, especially with the 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 by CJ and then 1 by Hillman. But you held Aaron Rodgers to 77 yards. That's ultimately what eliminated the Packers. It didn't matter what that offense did. What that defense did made them be able to win the game. I mean, that to me is a crazy stat to know that, and I've seen this all over Facebook today, to know that Alex Smith outrushed what Aaron Rodgers threw.
That is pretty wild.
That says a lot about that Broncos defense. Now, I know at the beginning of the year, or earlier in the year, a couple weeks back ago anyway, I said that I'm a firm believer that offenses win games and defense wins championships. Can this defense win them a championship?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things you take from what you said. I mean, the Broncos finally got a little more offense than they've gotten in the last couple of weeks, to go with that dominant defense. So they took care of Green Bay 29-10. I said, I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, that I thought maybe the Jets had the best defense as they continued to develop over the course of the year, but no way, man. Not after what I saw the Denver defense do to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, 14 for 22 for 77 yards. I didn't think that was humanly possible to hold that man to that. I don't care if Jordy Nelson's out or and the Packers even got Devontae Adams back, who they really thought would help open things up by putting Randall Cobb back in the slot. So, I mean, with that being said, Manning did play a little better than he has in the past. I mean, as far as this year is concerned, he was 21 for 29, 340 yards. But this is probably the worst game I've ever seen Rodgers play. I mean, definitely his worst game as a pro. Like I said, I didn't know if it was possible. When you're playing that good a defense and you can hold a guy like Aaron Rodgers to 77 yards passing, I mean, I don't really care who the quarterback is. I think Matt Castle wins that game for the Broncos, or Brandon Weeden, or Josh McCown. I mean, give your take. If when you're playing that well and shut down Aaron Rodgers like that, I mean, the sky's the limit. So they're 7-0. They haven't lost a game. They played, what could have been the best team in the NFC, and they dominated them. I mean, they shut down one of the best players in the game, one of the best players the game's ever seen. The Broncos had 500 yards of offense. The Packers 140. I mean, 140 yards of total offense. Aaron Rodgers usually will count for that in a quarter. I mean, they can put up 140 yards in a quarter. So this is the first time the Broncos have been 7-0 since winning the Super Bowl in '98. I think the big thing that Denver did do is the Packers didn't get pressure on Manning at all. I mean, they didn't sack him, and they weren't really ever close to sacking him. The Broncos have struggled with other than Manning's quarterback play. And I even saw a couple rumors with the deadline approaching in the NFL for trades that with the Broncos, they brought in Vernon Davis, who I think could really have a late resurrection and also give Manning another option. But Joe Thomas bringing in an all-pro, Pro Bowl left tackle to really solidify that line. So we keep an eye on that. But I definitely think, back to the question, that the Broncos defense could carry him there. I mean, Manning, if he can just do what he did yesterday and manage the game and not turn the ball over, they can protect him well enough. They most definitely can make a run at the Super Bowl with that defense.
With that whole talk of Joe Thomas, and I've seen many reports saying Cleveland is ready just to pretty much get rid of anybody and everybody, trade off, I don't know. There's a lot of names tagged into what they're willing to ready to give up. And to give up Joe Thomas, who throughout all these years that he's been in the NFL, that he's played for the Cleveland Browns, one of the worst teams in the NFL, yet year after year, he gets recognized as being a top offensive player. As horrible as that team plays, and protecting the quarterback back there that has no idea what he's doing in a run game that hasn't been, I don't think it's been in existence since the Biner Mac days. Yet he makes Pro Bowl selection. He's on the NFL Network's top 100 every year. And I never thought there would be a day that Cleveland would be willing to trade off Joe Thomas. But if they trade off Joe Thomas, I'm curious to know what Denver is willing to give up. At this point, in order to keep what they have going, you're either going to get crappy players or you're going to get draft picks. And I'm assuming draft picks is what the key trading tool is going to be, because I can't see Denver wanting to give up too much of what they have right now, because obviously he's sitting, 8-0 now at this point? 7-0, 8-0, whatever the record is. I just can't see them wanting to 7-0, willing to give up too many pieces.
I mean, you think about how good Joe Thomas is. I mean, one, he doesn't ever miss a game. I mean, so that right there is important when you're a left tackle. Two, he's one of the most dynamic offensive linemen in the league. He's fundamentally sound. He's big. He's mentally tough. He's everything you want to anchor an offensive line. I think he would definitely be draft picks. For one, the Broncos don't really have any young pieces that they'd really be able to give up. I mean, Denver's one of the oldest teams in the league, so they're not going to want any. The Browns aren't going to want any aging players with high value contracts. They're going to want young prospects or draft picks. So I think he commands at least a first and a third round pick. I mean, maybe 2 first rounders. It really just depends what are the Broncos willing to give up. And with the way they've dealt themselves in free agency by spending a lot of money on aging players that other teams have let go for younger players, you wouldn't be surprised for the Browns to get a good return on Joe Thomas if they do decide to part ways with him.
Definitely, we'll be keeping an eye on that, especially they have to do with my Cleveland Browns. I'm curious to what they're going to be willing to give up to Denver on Denver's end. Draft picks would definitely be what I would think they would give up, so they don't disrupt what they've worked so hard to get to where they're at now.
Right.
Tampa Bay upsets Atlanta. I was beyond shocked when I saw this. I seen the end of the game and then the overtime. I don't even have where. I never thought Jameson Winston would lead against a team against an Atlanta team that was doing this good. Our team's just figuring out Atlanta. I mean, this is a couple losses in a short few weeks, or is Tampa Bay finally gelling together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, Tampa Bay, obviously, Winston's a young quarterback, so for him to have, 6-7 games under his belt definitely helps. I mean, Tampa still gave up a 17-point lead, to let the Falcons back in it. But I don't care what team you're playing. You can be playing the Bucs, you can be playing the Lions, you can be playing any of those teams that aren't having a good year. But if you turn the ball over 4 times and are penalized 11 times for 124 yards, you're just really going to be struggling to beat anybody. And when you do things like that, they put you in a hard situation, even when you have a rookie quarterback and even when you're at home. But, I mean, not to take too much away from Winston, because he did play a good game. On that final drive in overtime, he converted 3 times on 3rd down. He had a quarterback rating, a QBR of 93. Most important stat of the day for Winston was that he didn't throw an interception. He ran a real efficient ball game, 16 for 29, 177 yards on a TD. I think it's a little bit of both. I think Tampa Bay, the young quarterback getting a little more comfortable, but Atlanta's also coming down to earth a little bit. They've struggled the last couple of weeks and look more like the Falcons team we might have thought they were going to be, when the season started. So they kind of hit a mid-season rut, but they have a young coach who is also trying to figure things out. I think they're definitely still in it. I mean, struggled the last couple of weeks, but Tampa Bay shocks the world. I mean, nobody saw that one coming. I think the Falcons were favored by 10 points, and really were never in it until the very end when Ryan hit Jones in the back of the end zone. It's a good game for Julio Jones. I mean, he had 12 catches, 162 yards, but at the end of the day, there's too many mistakes, and that ultimately cost that way into the game.
Oh, goodness. The Saints and the Giants game.
That was a wild one, man. There was a lot of points.
Where was the defense? 101 points scored. Was it 1,100? Did I say 1,100 or a little over 1,000 yards? One of the two. Total offense. The Saints. I know a lot of people are still sleeping on the Saints. And a lot of people ain't paying attention. This team has won 4 of their last 5 games. They've obviously got things together. Still not a lot of talk of them. A team that was sitting 0-3 at one point in time, now sitting 4-4, and just closing the gap on Atlanta and closing the gap on a wild card possibility. But without any defense, you're only going to go so far, as we've done discussed. Offense winning games such as this game right here, that took you down to the last second to win a game when you had 52 points. I think that's the key stat right here that blows my mind, that it took you to the last second and you had to score 52 points to win the game. Well, you only had to score 50, but you had to score 52 points to win the game. I mean, by the time you get into the 40s, you should have this game securely secured. There should be no, down to the wire kind of stuff. But this weekend showed I'm not going to want to sit there and assume these defenses or these offenses are that good, even though Drew Brees went 40 of 50 and threw for 511 yards and 7 touchdowns, astronomically great. Eli Manning 30 of 41, kind of the same performance, but I don't want to think these offenses were that great, and so the defenses. Wow.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I watched that whole game, and most people love to see a game like that, 52-49, a lot of points. I mean, that's what the NFL has done to change the rules to make illegal contact and emphasize pass interference, because they want more points, because the general fan likes to see a lot of points. I don't. I like the game tonight. It's 10-6. It's raining. It's old school football. Pound the football down. That's what I like to watch. And I know I'm in the minority, but I was sitting there. I mean, there was a ton of penalties. Nobody was playing defense. And I mean, just to think, the Giants' offense last week played the Cowboys, who are a middle of the road defense by all stretches. Middle of the road, and they shut them down. I mean, they dominated them. If it wasn't for Matt Castle playing quarterback and a special teams touchdown, they don't win that football game. So to say the Giants' offense is some high prolific offense, that's not the case. That's just how bad the Saints' defense is. And it really was one of those games where while I was watching it, I didn't want the Giants to win, obviously being a Cowboys fan, but whoever gets the ball last, whoever has the ball when the time's going to be ticking off the clock is going to win, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, the Saints kicked a field goal with pretty much no time on the clock, and it's kind of a weird sequence there. They stopped the Giants punt, and it had some reminiscence of that game a couple years ago when Deshaun Jackson took back that punt with no time on the clock. Granted, he didn't take it back, but a face mask penalty there put him close enough for Kai Forbath to kick it through and give the Saints the lead and the win 52-49. Breeze, 7 touchdowns. Eli, 6 touchdowns. I mean, you would have thought we were playing Madden with the numbers they put up on offense, but it was bad defense, penalties. If one of these teams makes it to the playoffs, they're not going to last because I don't care.
No.
I don't care who you are. I mean, the Saints have their issues on offense. The Giants obviously have their issues on offense. For them to combine for 101 points, the third most in the history of the NFL on an afternoon, and it just blows my mind. So I would not, hold my breath and say one of these teams are poised to make a run when you play defense like that, or I should take that back, when you don't play defense at all.
I don't know how anybody can be entertained by a game that has no defense. I mean, to me, watching a 52-49 football game is like watching the NBA All-Star game. You know you're not going to get defense. Yeah, and it's almost like watching the Pro Bowl game. Ain't nobody really trying that hard, is what it seems like. But that's crazy to know that both those offenses could have done anything they wanted to the opposite team, and they were unable to stop them. To me, it's just crazy to see that, and I don't like it. I do not want to watch two teams just go up and down the field and the defense really have no outcome of how this game is dictated.
No, I'm absolutely there with you. I mean, it was a free-for-all. I mean, they were even running flea flickers and all sorts of stuff. It was like an all-star game. I mean, it's a joke, really.
Steelers and Bengals. One of the other games I got wrong, I only had three games wrong. I know the Atlanta game was one of them. The Kansas City-Detroit game, I obviously had a lot more faith in Detroit than anybody in the world because that was just horrible as well. But the Steelers-Bengals game, I thought the Steelers at home, knowing that they needed to win this game to keep pace with the Bengals and be able to contend for a wild card spot, especially with as many teams that are having the season they are, such as Oakland and the Jets at this point, and even Buffalo, and who knows with Miami. That was kind of the Miami-New England game, as long as, and we agreed on this, as long as Miami at least stayed close and kept the game competitive, we knew it wasn't the fact that they played two weak teams and there was something building there. But after walking away from that Monday night butt whooping they got, we're back to the drawing board on that one as well. But
right.
I got this game wrong. Almost didn't get it wrong. The Steelers almost was able to pull it back. But this is more of what we wanted to see. AFC North, hard-nosed football, low-scoring game, a fight until the end kind of game, and we got what we wanted out of it. And unfortunately for my pick, we got Cincinnati. I got it wrong. Cincinnati won. But I don't want to take anything away from Cincinnati. They obviously are a good team, but even listening to them talk on NFL, TV on NFL Network, they want to see if they can win a football game. Like, nobody still to this point is taking the Bengals, but only so serious because we know year in and year out they put on, great seasons. It's the end of the season and playoff that they fall apart. And so I can only imagine how conflicted Bengals fans have to be right now because you don't know still. Yeah, we've been down this road many times already, and I can imagine how conflicted they are. But Bengals, showed once again that they are, in talks of being one of the best teams, and it's crazy to see. I've been so used for so long to see the NFC be the more dominant conference. But I mean, the way we're looking at it right now, the three best teams, in my opinion, as of this week now, have to be Denver, New England, and Cincinnati, not in that order, but those got to be your three teams. And Cincinnati's definitely making more and more believers every week, especially with the schedule they've been playing. Now, saying all that, I would love more than anything them to go into this Thursday night game against my Cleveland Browns and fall flat on their face and Cleveland knock them off their pedestal. But I would be beyond shocked if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird game. I mean, Bengals end up winning 16-10. 7-0 for the Bengals, their best start ever. I mean, never been 7-0 in the history of that franchise. I tweeted to you after Dalton threw that pick there. They were down at this point, 10-6. It's third down. Dalton makes a boneheaded throw. Steelers pick it off in the end zone, and the dude almost took it back. I mean, took it to the house for 103 yards or whatever it would have been. I think if the Steelers have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger, if he had played a couple of weeks, he didn't have that MCL tear or issue, and Le'Veon Bell still is able to play that whole game, I think this is a totally different ballgame. It really even makes me question, I have my doubts about the Bengals, and so does everybody else, rightfully so, because, like you said, they get to the playoffs and they lay an egg. They lose in the first round. Well, they looked like they were going to lay an egg against a Pittsburgh team that had a quarterback that couldn't move, a quarterback that was obviously rusty. I mean, Roethlisberger had 1 touchdown, 3 picks, and was consistently missing throws. So I still have my doubts with Cincinnati. I think you're definitely right. I think that they're definitely one of the top 3 teams in the league, and you got the other 2 right. I mean, I think it's New England number 1 by a long shot at this point, and Denver's defense, I think, makes them number 2, and the Bengals with their consistency on both sides of the ball at 3. But it just wasn't that signature win I was looking for. I almost feel like they kind of had the Steelers and just were able to squeak out a win because the Steelers couldn't make plays, and the injuries limited them to do what they normally would be able to do. So still not going to put full faith in those Bengals. I mean, if they had gone in there against the healthy Steelers team and won 35-7 or something, I think it would be a different tune. But they won 16-10, and it was really that Pittsburgh couldn't make the plays when they needed to, and the Bengals kind of got lucky. I mean, credit to defense for shutting down Ben and limiting that run game when they could and doing what they did. So not trying to take anything away. It wasn't quite as defining. It wasn't quite as signature as what the Bengals needed to really shift public perception. But you are what your record says you are, and the Bengals are undefeated for the first time in franchise history. So we will see next week and see as the season rolls on if they can continue to prove us wrong and if they really are for real, and if Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton can actually win that playoff game that they've been trying to do for some time now.
I guess where I hold a little bit more weight into this win is the fact that they went into Pittsburgh to do it. Yeah,
you're right.
10 at home. Yeah, I would agree 100%, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I do. Part of me does agree with you. Yeah, it was only a 16 win, 3 turnovers, Bell going out of the game. All those, kind of factor into it. It's why Cincinnati won, and it should have been a better, a bigger win and a better defeat. But the fact that they went into Pittsburgh, that holds a little bit of weight for me. Cincinnati has Cleveland Thursday night this week at home. So that that should make them 8-0 easily. 8-0 easily. And then they follow that with a Monday night game against Houston at home as well. 2 teams that are garbage at this. Very easily set them to be 9-0. Then their schedule gets a little bit more difficult with the going to Arizona to play the Cardinals, home against St. Louis, back into Cleveland, home for Pittsburgh, in San Francisco, and then wrap it up at Denver, and then home against Baltimore. Those last 2 games, I would be shocked. If they're still undefeated at that point, I would be shocked if they make it through the season, especially with Denver. And what's really great about the fact that we got 3 undefeated teams is this now forces these teams to play their starters later, because now you've got 3 teams that legitimately are fighting for the road to the Super Bowl to go through their house. And it always sucks when you have one team that runs away and is undefeated and late into the season, or has this great record and late into the season, and they can start benching their players week 16, week 17, and really don't get to see them perform. And of course, fantasy owners that bites into that, because you don't know how long your players are going to play and what players you draft and everything else. now that you got 3 undefeated teams, and I hope all 3 of them continue their winning ways as long as possible, because now that forces the number 1 and number 2 seed hand to you know, it forces these teams to play their players a lot longer and make things a little bit more interesting come towards the end of the season versus things being locked up and nobody's having to play nobody, and it's not. I don't know. I just like the idea of the build up and still not having a number 1 seed until week 16, week 17 kind of scenario.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. I mean, keeping things competitive when you have teams that haven't lost. I mean, we've seen time and time again where you get to that point where if you're a fantasy football owner, you're worried that Peyton Manning's not going to play or Tom Brady's not going to play. You know, you don't really know what you're going to get. They're going to rest starters. Definitely makes for a more competitive game to watch. I mean, 100%. That's a great point. So something we haven't really seen before. You know, this many teams undefeated at one time. And hey, it's good for the game. It's good for us to have something to talk about. It's good for everybody involved.
Most definitely, and like I said, I hope it continues. Like I was kind of, you know, you had to have a loser in the Packers and Broncos game, but did they just turn that ball over?
Yep, I was just gonna say, I don't know if you're watching the game, but first and goal or second and goal for the Panthers, and Cam drops the snap. It's a rainy day in Charlotte. There it goes. Yeah. That's football 101.
It is beyond ready. Like I said at the beginning of the show, like our whole road is like it's like a river to leave our neighborhood. And when I went to McDonald's even this morning, like the ditches on the side of the road, the water level was up to the road. Like it is the way it's raining right now. It is the way it's been since yesterday early afternoon. I am surprised there's not a lot of flooding. I guess because there's not been a constant downpour. It's just been that steady rain that's going on right now. But that's pretty much the way it's been for the last. You're going about 30 hours.
I mean, I'm just 3 hours north of you in Virginia Beach, and we've gotten some of the rain, but I think it's coming for the next couple of days. It's supposed to not stop raining until like Thursday here. So, wet football.
Yeah, we're getting right.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a kind of a sloppy game, but one thing about playing in the rain, all these guys have done it. You know, I mean, Andrew Luck, you would think with him having the Colts throw the ball more than the Panthers do, but the Panthers run that read option where you're pulling the ball in and out. This is the second time they've fumbled and turned it over for the Colts to the Colts.
Raiders. Wow, they're Raiders. I got this game. I picked them over the Jets. This team every week seems to impress me more and more. It just seems that everything is clicking together. You know, I can't express the addition of Amari Cooper to that team, the veterancy of Michael Crabtree on that team, Derek Carr finally getting a bunch of games underneath his belt and becoming a better, more accurate, and better decision-making quarterback. The veteran players that they added with Alden Smith, Justin Tuck, the pieces, and Woodson back on. You know, that man 600 years old and still picking people off, leading the NFL in interceptions. I tell you what, Jack Del Rio has got that team believing, and you know, there's a good possibility the way the rest of this AFC is playing outside, and it's funny because you got the 3 undefeated teams, then you really have nobody else.
Right.
You barely have anybody else even at 500 in this league. I think the Steelers, the Jets, and now Oakland is probably, and you might correct me if there might be another one. I did look at the standings, but that's about all the teams you have at 300 at this point. So, or I'm sorry, at 500 in the AFC. So you really go from undefeated to nothing. And Oakland in contention. You have the Jets 4-3, Pittsburgh 4-4, and Oakland 4-3. That's you got 3 undefeated teams and only 3 other teams that are above 500 at this point. And you got the AFC South that's led by a 3-4, which is about to be a 3-5 Indianapolis Colts. So right now the Oakland Raiders are looking. They're in right now. They are in. If the playoffs was to begin today, they're in. And the way this AFC is looking, it is very, very, very possible that we will see the Oakland Raiders in the playoffs this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a good possibility without a doubt. I mean, you think about it, you just said, 3 undefeated teams, so there's only so many wins to go around. So when you have this many undefeated teams for the first time, in NFL history, you're going to have a lot of teams that are sub 500 because that's 21-0 right there, and through 7 weeks of the season, there's only so many games that are played. So it's kind of it's something that the NFL hasn't seen where you have so many teams, three that are hands above the rest, and then these little battles in between. And Oakland's got it going on right now, man. Derek Carr is playing lights out. He's bossing before our eyes. So Oakland's finally found a quarterback. The dude was 23 for 36, 4 TDs. He's playing like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, and he's in his second year. The Raiders, they look like now and tomorrow and everything ahead of them is going to be great. The Jets kind of look like the team that we always remembered. They were making mistakes, didn't know what they were really doing. Latavius Murray, the back for the Raiders, 113 yards. He's a young guy, second-year player. Andre Holmes is a fourth-year player. He caught 2 TDs. Crabtree, who's still a young player in this league, he's like the oldest guy on their offense. He had 2 touchdowns, or a touchdown and 102 yards. I think the Raiders are definitely a playoff team. And really, the Jets, I think we both said that we thought the Raiders were going to take care of business, and they did. But the Jets, they lose a quarterback early. They get down early. They're on a long road trip. New York City to Oakland, cross-country trip. That's about as far as they're going to travel ever. So Jets fans, I don't think it's anything to really be too concerned with as long as Fitzpatrick's thumb and all that is okay. I'd be worried about that. But I think the Raiders are definitely a playoff team. I think the Jets are also a team that should contend as well. It's just a lot of things that go their way that game, and Derek Carr really lit up that defense. You talk about what I thought was one of the best secondaries in the league, and a second-year quarterback just shreds him. He was nearly perfect.
I tell you what, I know that the Carolina Panthers coughed it up in the red zone within the 10-yard line, but to get the ball back on the 30-yard line on the first down wasn't that bad of a trade-off. Indianapolis didn't do anything with that ball, and Panthers set themselves real nice. So
they're right back already at field goal range.
Yeah, it'd have been nice if Carolina could have scored last time and help build their lead. But if nothing else, they're at least going to build on the lead still if they're within a field goal range. But yes, Oakland, very, very impressed with this team. When we saw it coming, we just thought it was still a couple more years out. We knew that they added a good quarterback that still had to get more experience underneath his belt in Derek Carr. And from watching Alabama, we knew what they were getting from Amari Cooper. We just didn't know whether or not it would take him a couple years to adjust to the NFL speeds and the NFL side, or if he was going to come in and straight make an impact, and he just came in and made an impact. Crabtree obviously is stepped into the opportunity he was given by Oakland and touched down by the Carolina Panthers, just that quick. Obviously Crabtree has, taken in his role on this team, and, obviously the way the San Francisco 49ers are falling apart, it was a good thing that he had to stay out in San Francisco and made the trip over to Oakland. But, I think a lot of people knew that this was coming. I just don't think anybody expected it this quick. I think everybody figured that Carr and Cooper would have to take a year or two to get, used to each other and get in sync. And, Carr with Crabtree, with him being new and those new defensive pieces, and how well those veteran pieces on the defense with Woodson being old and Tuck being around the league for a while, and Alden Smith and all his off-the-field issues and everything else, how all of this was going to play out this year. But it looks like things gelled really quick, and I think a lot of these veteran players knew that this possibly is their last stop, if it not be for age for Woodson or off-the-field issues with Alden Smith or, Crabtree, and whether or not how many more teams are willing to give him a shot, because even though he's a good receiver, he's just not been, I think up to what some of these teams were wanting. I think that they, accepted the challenge and, figured this might be our last ride, so let's give it our all. Let's make our value better, and let's see if we can win a championship while doing it.
Yeah, definitely, man. You're right there. Everything you said is spot on. I just saw, to kind of segue into the next topic, I just literally saw a tweet Colin Kaepernick has been informed that Blaine Gabbert will start next week at quarterback. So Colin Kaepernick is hitting the bench with his huge contract in San Francisco. And Blaine Gabbert, I mean, gosh, talk about a crummy quarterback as well. Will start next week for the troubled Niners.
You know, it was funny because my boy, he texted me this morning talking about so much for this season. I guess there's always next season. You know, I only replied to him, well, you're speaking like a Cleveland Browns fan. And, you know, that's kind of our slogan next season. So they can join the crowd. Like, we're used to this. But I tell you what, you know, when the 49ers made the initial change from Kaepernick to Alex, or from Alex Smith to Kaepernick, I was not a fan of it. I felt that Kaepernick was probably the better quarterback. I didn't like the time, and I knew somewhere down the road it was going to turn around and bite them in the butt. And ultimately, the Super Bowl, it bit him in the butt. Yes, you know, defense hadn't adjusted to him, and it took him to the next season to adjust to his running style, his passing, and everything else. And that's why every year since his rookie season, or that season anyway, his stats have gotten worse and worse. But it was more of the fact that you had two completely different type of quarterbacks. You had Alex Smith. Yes, he didn't have the arm, but he didn't turn the ball over. That guy hardly ever had an interception. Mine only threw for 180 yards, 220 maybe yards, but it was good high percentage passes. And you knew what you was getting out of Alex Smith. Kaepernick, you didn't know what you were getting, and obviously the defenses didn't know what they were getting. But when it came down to the Super Bowl, there's a timeout that he wasted, interceptions that, you know, happened, ultimately cost him the Super Bowl. And I'm not surprised. I honestly thought in the offseason you would have an opportunity to open that playbook and he would become a better player, and that's not what happened. I think, honestly, the defenses just had a chance to catch up with him, study him, and learn him. But I tell you what, to go from that year where it was the Harbaugh brothers in the Super Bowl to where we're sitting right now, it's almost sad to see how quickly that 49ers team fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, you know, great quarterback guru, leaves San Francisco, and I thought of any of those coaches they could pick and have on their staff, Harbaugh was the one that would get the most out of the quarterback and really get the most and maximize his potential. Another thing about Kaepernick, he hit the league at the exact right time. I mean, look at what RG3 did and Kaepernick did when they came into the league, and defenses were so naive to the read option. They hadn't seen quarterbacks with this type of speed, and on top of that, Kaepernick has a cannon. I mean, he can hum that ball in there. I mean, he can't put touch on the ball. He can't put any air under it. But if you want the guy to throw a fastball, he can throw the fastball. So I think Harbaugh liked that. And at the time, the 49ers had a great running game. They had a lot of good skill players. Vernon Davis was really getting into his own, and the 49ers were playing great defense. So there was a lot more potential to maximize just with Kaepernick's ability. Alex Smith was obviously the more true quarterback in the sense that he, understood this league, and not to take anything away from Alex Smith's running ability, but Kaepernick was more athletic than him, for what they were trying to do. But Harbaugh leaves, that offensive line leaves, the running game leaves, the defense leaves. Now Kaepernick has to put that team on his back, and he's just not that guy to do it. So it's disappointing for 49ers fans. I mean, Kaepernick's like one of the top 6 paid quarterbacks in the league or something. I mean, he's making unbelievable money, and on an extension that wasn't signed, only a couple of years ago. I think he's probably in the second year of his deal. So it's real interesting. I mean, the 49ers are a mess. I mean, on every facet of the game, their coach, their offense, their defense, their special teams. It's not looking good in San Francisco. And Blaine Gabbert, as bad as he is, he will start next week for the Niners.
It's crazy to know that Blaine Gabbert, I mean, to watch him in Jacksonville, and you would have thought that Blaine Gabbert originally probably was happy about the deal because he went to a team that was supposed to be better than Jacksonville, but at this point he probably would have been better off being back at Jacksonville playing for that team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way the roster's turned upside down in San Francisco, he's got about as much as he had to work with when he was in Jacksonville, so I wouldn't expect anything big out of Gabbert in the 49ers anytime soon, that's for sure.
I don't know. I don't see it getting really any better for the 49ers. At this point, I don't even know what they're hoping for. I kind of would like to know what their thoughts are and what they're hoping they're going to get out of this season with Blaine Gabbert as the quarterback. Are you playing with the idea maybe that's who you want to go with in your future? Are you trying to diffuse all the fights and stuff in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, one thing to point out, too, Jason Cole from Bleacher Report reported early on this morning that he received 2 text messages from 49ers players that they had informed coaches that they wanted a new quarterback. I mean, obviously Kaepernick has lost the trust of his teammates. And, I mean, you think about it just from a pure safety standpoint. If those 2 players that texted a reporter that are offensive linemen, I mean, he's obviously lost the locker room. I mean, I think it's more about, his ability to command a huddle and move the offense and to be a leader, and he obviously hasn't done any of those things. So I don't think it's about Blaine Gabbert. I think it's more about Kaepernick, isn't it? His inability to play the game and to really be a professional and lead a team.
Now, Stafford's the other quarterback we feel is on the hot seat. Do you think that the Detroit Lions are pretty much the next team to bench their high-paid starting quarterback and move in a different direction for the season?
I mean, that's tough. They have Dan Orlovsky as their backup. I mean, he's about as prolific of a passer as Blaine Gabbert is. And the one thing I can at least say about the Lions is that they're coming off a season that, they made the playoffs. They played good defense. Stafford, he has a cannon, too. I mean, he has the physical ability. He can hang in the pocket. He has some toughness. And, I mean, he plays hurt. I've always liked him. I mean, I feel like he might be getting a little bit of a bad rap, but I also think just by watching that Kansas City game, I mean, he looked so disengaged from the team and really like he just didn't really care what happened to anything. So it's tough to say. I don't think they will. I mean, I think Stafford, the difference, Thomas Sula had said, and obviously, Kaepernick's bench, but he had said, we're evaluating everyone. Whereas the Lions GM came out and said, you're absolutely crazy. Matthew Stafford's our quarterback. So I think they'll stick with Stafford a little bit longer. It'll be interesting to see what the coach wants to do. If Caldwell's obviously on the hot seat too. He has a talented roster. He's 1-7. They're supposed to be in the playoffs. They're obviously not going to be in the playoffs. So how much pull does the coach have? Does the GM really want to trade Stafford? I think Stafford's miles beyond the ability of Kaepernick, and Orlovsky's about the same as Gabbert. So I think the Lions will stick with Stafford, and obviously Kaepernick will be starting next week.
Interesting how this all plays out.
It is.
The crazy season, and we're only halfway through, so I can imagine what the second half of the season is only going to bring, and looking forward to it as well.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Well, as always, I want to thank you very much for joining us. For those listening, tomorrow night we have a mix-up, or not a mix-up, but we have a jumble up in the schedule. We have San Diego Surges from the Women's Football League, players on in the past. We have Deanna Simmons, Guidry, join us at 10 o'clock. So Patrick agreed to join us at 9:30 to 10 tomorrow instead of 10 to 10:30, so we can slip her in. That was her only availability. And I'm even been booted out of the studio. I'm there to only assist. Shorty is supposed to take over the roles because Miss Lee is afraid I'm going to use my life for the Lingerie Football League in this interview with women from the other football league. And so I've actually been booted out of the studio for this one. So looking forward to actually sitting back and listening to Shorty step in and take that role. But we got Patrick Taylor joining us tomorrow night at 9:30 to finish wrapping up, talking about tonight's game, any other topics we might have missed, and preview for the next week, which would put us in week 9 if I'm looking at my schedule right here. So looking forward to having you back on tomorrow night. You enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy watching this wet, sloppy game going on, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow.
Sounds good, guys. Everybody enjoy their night, and we'll talk at 9:30.
Yes, sir. That was Patrick Taylor from Line Blower. Make sure you guys check them out at www.lineblower.com. Also, follow them on Twitter at line_blower. Same on Instagram, and you can check them out on Facebook. They got a lot of great stuff that they been putting out on their Facebook page. You can also check them. We've been sharing all their stuff as well. So if you forget how to look them up, anytime you see it come across, just click on the link, and then you can go over and like them as well. I also got to tomorrow night, we got Patrick Taylor from 9:30 to 10. We got Deanna from the San Diego Surge joining us at 10 o'clock, and we got Izzo joining us at 10:30 to talk NHL. So looking forward to that. So don't forget, tomorrow morning, the 110 Nation Morning Show, 9 o'clock tomorrow night, 110 Nation Sports Show. Make sure you guys are there. Hit me up on Twitter at CJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. You can follow check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. Check out the 110 fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show, all you got to do is send up Miss Lee. That's LEE_110 Nation at yahoo.com. Interested in co-hosting or hosting the show, we got 15 hours used. We got 20 hours available. We would really love to have a Saturday pre-college show, and we would love to have a Sunday pre-NFL. Out there, it's interested. It could be just an hour or 2 hours, depending on how long you want it to get. But it's something that's got to be it's got to be every week and even in the off season. So you might want to think about an hour show if you one of those people that want to step up and try to take that role on. But we got plenty of time available on our plans. We'd like to start using some of that up since we're paying for it. So hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Make sure you guys are here. You guys have a great night. Peyton.